Welcome to the Gen X Journey podcast. Dive into all things important to Gen Xers, from advice on aging parents, expert interviews, product reviews, and heartfelt conversations. So put down the joystick, grab your Walkman, dust off your old yearbooks, and welcome to the Gen X Journey.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Gen X Journey podcast. This is Keith Abbott along with Steve McKilkey and Noel Kirsch, and we took a break last week and had one of our buddies, the Wayback Time Machine, come in, and she kind of teed us up for season 7. A lot of different things that she introduced, coming from the Time Machine episode that we're going to be doing a deep dive into the year of 1985. Steve is going to also be doing his own personal deep dive coming up. We're going to be talking about caring for aging parents, but one of the other things that we thought might be fun just today to get this season started off is we wanted to talk a little bit to the AI side of things. And I'm going to turn this over to Noel to kind of tee up what this episode is going to be about. So Noel, what exactly do we do? And let's share a little.
So one of the many things that makes the Gen X pretty special is that we grew up analog. When we were born and coming into this world, everything was analog. We all had the rotary phones. We didn't have the internet. We had like 3 channels on the TV. Our remotes were wired. I could go on and on about the lack of technology when we were growing up. We were young. And then we're also alive in the time of artificial intelligence too. So we've come a long way in terms of technology. And so we thought it'd be kind of cool to just go and tap into the latest technology these days, which is currently AI, and just ask Chat GPT what it thinks is unique about the Gen X generation. And so we asked it to just tell us, hey, what do you think are the unique and special qualities that set the Gen X generation apart from everybody else? And it gave us an interesting answer. So we thought we'd just kind of run through some of those answers and see if you agree, see if you disagree, see if there's other things that need to be added to this and stuff. So I'm
curious how it lines up with our first couple of episodes, how we describe Gen X. So let's see how it ties in.
Yeah, I think it's. I see some parallels in some of these, but it has some of these that I don't think we've discussed before. So thought it was kind of cool. But
yeah.
Anyway,
well, let us know some of these. What were they?
Yeah. So we were the generation that was really we're very independent. That's kind of one of the things that makes us special, I think, from everybody else, is that we're kind of fiercely independent. And along those lines is that we can actually fix things. We don't, these days you've got YouTube that has instructions on how to fix nearly everything. And thank goodness for that. But we existed and had to fix things before YouTube came onto the scene. So this is, we can change our own oil. We can replace a tire. We can hook up a VCR.
Set the clock even.
We can set the clock on the VCR. You're right. Which isn't always the easiest thing to do, actually. And we can troubleshoot a computer problem without Googling it. So we've been able to learn how to do stuff without having technology to rely on to teach us how to do that kind of stuff. So it's one of the things that makes us unique and special, is we actually know how to fix things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, it's interesting because we do have the ability, and I think one of the other ones that you shared with us, Noel, with this Chat GPT was the bridge generation. And I think that goes hand in hand with the adaptability, because, we came from the fact that we started out, and I can still remember my best friend from first grade's phone number by dialing it on my rotary phone. And I still have a hard time sometimes remembering what my current family members' phones are on a smartphone, because I just hit their name. But we were fluent in both worlds. We were able to really bridge the gap in the workplace. We know how to, if somebody needs, like in my world of work, we still use the fax machine for some things because of the secure network it is compared to some other things. So we can still fax as well as, sending screenshots or, any kind of snaps or whatever else that could be that the younger generation does. We can do that, and we can go back to just the basics. So of writing cursive. So pretty interesting that we can bridge the gap between all of that.
Like, do y'all remember your best friends, like, phone numbers and stuff?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. Me too. I could recite that easy right now.
Oh, me too, without question.
So funny.
Have y'all ever tried to dial your own phone number from your childhood?
No. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I may have to do that and follow up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So just curious.
Yeah. It's funny, just the adaptation and technology. I think it was 15 years ago, I made a post on Facebook like, this iPad seems like a totally unnecessary thing. Why would anybody want this? And I'm like, my iPad's 45 degrees away from me right now.
Yeah, right.
It's an essential part of my day.
Went out of town this week. The first thing I grabbed was my iPad to put in my backpack. It's so funny. So pretty interesting. So that's a good one. So what did you see on this list, Steve, that you thought was kind of interesting?
Yeah, the note about being the last great childhood sort of speaks out to me. And of course, talking with spent some time with the family. We were talking about this past weekend. We were talking about how just kids are raised differently these days, and in many ways is better than what we experienced. But they refer to, we had a childhood full of unsupervised adventures, riding bikes until the street lights came on, drinking from garden hoses, making plans about texting first. And even like in our college days, we always knew where we're going to meet up, but we didn't text. We just communicated
somehow
face to face first. Hey, be over here around this time.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. See you there. And it always happened.
Showed up.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of those posts on Facebook and Instagram, and it gets me. It really hits me. And I'm not being silly about this, but where it says there was a time where, like, you see all the bikes in the front yard. It says there was a day that this was the last time this ever happened, and you never realized it. Or there's a guy playing at the arcade that said one day this was the last quarter you'd ever put in an arcade and you didn't realize it. Those things hit hard to me. I'm like,
they do.
And you didn't realize, like, the last time you ever asked somebody if they could go play. Those kind of things were things that you don't realize that was ever going to not be there, and it just stopped. It's wild to think about. So yeah, I do think that. And I will go to my grave on this one. I think we had the best childhood of any generation, hands down. I mean,
100%.
Being able to do, and we'll allude to this in the Goonies episode or the movie episode of one of the movies that we're going to be talking about is the Goonies. And we talked about how, even they were going out and, not playing, they were playing and their parents had no idea where they were and they were about to die in a pirate ship. That kind of thing is just kind of what solidified the Gen X generation. Better be home when the lights are on. Otherwise, the world was your landscape. Pretty crazy. Never going to be able to have something like that again.
Yep. Yeesh.
So what do you think, Noel? What's another one that kind of stood out to you that Chat GPT shared?
Well, Chat GPT described us as the work hard, play hard generation. So we aren't workaholics like boomers, and we also aren't obsessed with work-life balance like millennials are. This is Chat GPT saying this, not me. But we do get things done. But we also know how to enjoy life. And so, family, having a balance to our life, being able to do the things we like to do, but also understanding that we have obligations that have to be met too, and importance of getting things done. That's something that ChatGPT described Gen Xers as. So I think it's completely accurate. I mean, not knocking any of the other generations I work with. People have multiple people from every kind of generation on my team at work. And there's differences. I mean, there's even there's training classes and stuff that you have to can take to understand how to work with people in other generations, because we're all wired differently. But I think that description of work hard, play hard is a good one for Gen Xers. Certainly.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
No question about it. And work hard, play hard. But I think the other quote that's good for Gen X is trust but verify. Right.
Yeah.
Our generation is cynical.
Reagan.
And we've seen the things where we're watching boomers and millennials fight. We're sitting back eating popcorn. So we're the cynical generation in that way, but in a hopeful way. We saw Watergate, we saw scandals, all sorts of stuff. We've been through economic crashes. But we still have a positive outlook on life. And I think that it just came with the resilience of kind of being latchkey, those kind of things. We knew how to adapt and make sure that we were, like I said, I firmly believe that 98% of the world is good, but there's that 2% I need to verify. So I feel that to this day. It may be a little bit waned since I felt that way originally, but I still feel that way in my mind. But I still want to make sure that I'm not being, oblivious to things that might be coming my way. So yeah, I think that's pretty valid. To trust but verify and work hard and play hard, I think, are two good things that really embody us. And that was the other thing, cynical but hopeful on the Chat GPT's thing. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think another one that sort of resonated with me was number 8, low key leaders.
Yep.
We don't need the spotlight like boomers or millennials. Gen X just quietly took over leadership roles, running businesses, managing teams, keeping the world turning without demanding constant recognition. And I think Gen Xers sort of detest the participation ribbon or the participation trophy generations.
Right.
That we're like, if
we didn't earn it,
if we didn't win, then we worked harder next time.
That's right.
And
we lost.
Yep.
Yeah. The sting of losing is the motivation to go and win next time. Like, you don't get a win every single time just because you showed up. Like that's
participation.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you think about the implications of such a mindset to, corporate life, to, everything. It's pretty incredible. But I think an accurate description of the differences between Gen X and some of the newer generations. I wouldn't describe boomers that way, but I think some of the millennials and other generations can certainly fit that.
Well, and it's kind of a blessing, but it's also kind of a curse. And we talked about this when we were looking at the presidential election. Gen X is missing. You could argue that Kamala Harris was Gen X, but really, if you consider Gen X starting at 65, she was born in 64. So even her as vice president or presidential candidate, she was still before. She was more of a boomer. Yeah, she was late boomer, early pre-Gen X, right on that cusp there. But still, there was no, Now that being said, and I don't want to get political, but some of the cabinet members now are Gen X, but they weren't the ones that were. They weren't elected. They weren't out there. They were the ones that were filled in those positions. So it's interesting. I think that might be a little bit of a curse of Gen X, that we're not stepping up our authority in the way that we should. And it's interesting to me because all of these polls that I see, they're talking like everything that I see has something about millennials, something about Gen Z, and then something about boomers, but they always miss Gen X. And every time I see it on any social media page, I'll be like, sure like to know what we're Gen X. I mean, every time. I'd sure like to know what Gen X feels about this, since we're the breadwinners and wiping the boomers' butts now. Help us out. Let us know. And I didn't really say that, but it's just like, why do all of these things skip Gen X? We are a very powerful, large part of the workforce now. It's really surprising to me. Like boomers are mostly getting retired right now. Why is that still as inclusive as Gen X? It blows my mind that Gen X is excluded on so many of these. Weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because we kind of prefer we prefer to be in the background, which I think is I think it's a huge positive, actually. Not wanting or yearning or needing the spotlight. You're just taking care of business and doing things. I don't need the I mean, that's certainly the way I operate. I don't need that recognition, but I think I think it's kind of I think it's a positive part of our generation. But
agreed.
I think of us as like, we're sort of like the coach that's in the background, not the coach that's jumping up and down the sidelines. We're like the coach that's behind our team or our people and saying, hey, look, let's think about this. Let's make sure that we have a good plan when we walk into this. And I sort of think I know amongst the three of us, I feel like that's exactly how we are. We're not these gregarious, high energy leaders that have to have the spotlight. Definitely not.
Yeah, no. I like this. It's a good tie into what Chat GPT says on number 10, that we're the glue that holds everything together.
Yeah.
They don't get as much media attention as boomers and millennials, but you're the glue holding everything together, leading companies. And you said this, Noel, leading companies, raising the next generation, keeping culture grounded. So I like that.
Yeah.
So
Chat GPT described us as the masters of adaptation. You roll with every punch, .com booms and busts, 9/11, the financial crises, that's plural, the rise of AI, and we've been through all of it. We're not afraid of change. You don't whine about it. You just figure it out and adapt. I think that's that is such a great description of Gen X, which is really cool. But I think that's totally true. We've kind of seen a lot. Like if you look at what we've lived through and have been forced to adapt to, just because the world around us has changed so much.
We started with Apollo missions, basically.
Yeah.
And look at here we are now with what the technology has been since the first rockets going to the moon to now.
Yeah, now they're sending citizens up into space and rockets and stuff.
They're doing that tonight as we record. That SpaceX is sending these guys to the polar circumnavigation. Interesting.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That's pretty neat. I mean, we've lived through just the technology boom that has happened while we've been alive. It's incredible. Yeah. And I like to think that technology is going to only accelerate, and more changes are going to be happening. Our kids are going to be the next Gen X, which is going to talk about like, we had smartphones whenever we were young. Now we've got like holograms or some crap, whatever, whatever's coming next. You don't even need to be in the same room to, I don't know, who knows what's coming, but but this is for what we've seen. It's been pretty incredible.
Really has. Pretty wild.
Steve-O, you got any on the list?
So the next one that just jumps out is they called the soundtrack of a lifetime, and Gen X's music is legendary, which is absolutely true. And you had the best of every genre: classic rock, hair metal, grunge, hip hop music, alternative, and the birth of indie rock from Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden to Run DMC, Beastie Boys, and Tupac Shaker. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Our generation created music that still defines cool. And
I agree.
Yeah, we were born and raised on MTV.
Oh yeah.
And
I want my MTV.
Yeah.
Well, even the music of today, I don't really listen to it that much. I'm not a big fan. I would say that I will listen to it with my kids, but it's not something that's one place that I don't know if I'm adapting as readily as technology, that I'm not just going to sit there and pull in one of the new stuff. I'm still going to go back to my 80s and 90s, probably, if I'm really wanting to just sit back and enjoy. But if you look at the things, but if you think of it, like you look at this list: Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Tupac, those are the ones. Unfortunately, I wish some rock and stuff would come back. It's just kind of lower in the limelight lately. But the rap scene that's out there now and the hip hop scene is definitely stemmed from those bands and those singers and artists. So yeah, I still think that we are kind of the roots of where even our kids today are listening to it. So,
yep. I think this is another one that Chat GPT listed was the art of sarcasm and dry humor. I thought that one jumped out at me on the list here. It's like we mastered sarcasm and wit long before the internet made memes out of it. We brought The Simpsons, Seinfeld, Saturday Night Live in its prime. Our humor's always been sharp, smart, and effortlessly cool. So, which is, I think pretty accurate. So, y'all remember when Simpsons came out? Like I remember that.
Oh yeah,
I don't for some reason.
I do.
Man,
I remember how it was controversial. Massively
it was very controversial. Like my parents wouldn't let me watch it. It was
Nope.
but we had my parents wouldn't let me watch it back in the day. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. But yeah, I think our humor is pretty good. I don't even know all the comedians that are Gen X, but I think there's probably some really good ones just without doing the research on it. There's got to be some that are.
Well, even those that weren't Gen X, it was Gen X that allowed them to do what they did.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think of like Richard Pryor and some of those guys. They probably weren't Gen X, but
yeah,
I'll tell you what, they wouldn't exist today's world.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't.
No
there is
doubt
too
about
much sensitivity in this world. They would never make it. So
no doubt about that.
But yeah, I like the idea of the side hustle here that they're talking, that ChatGPT is talking about. You know, today's technology has really. I tell you, I wish that I was a younger person with today's technology, because there's so many things that when I was in the 90s, like I had so many ideas, but I'm like, I have no idea how to even find the resources to do things that I want to do. And now, like, you can figure it out. Like, this is one where, like, I think that if the newest generation now could take a hint from Gen Xers, it's like, figure out how to low key do something yourself, create yourself a side hustle with the resources you have today, and outdo Gen X with the tools you have, with things that we wish we could have dreamt up. You know, I just think it's such an amazing time. I'm a little this time right now with the innovations and things that you can do for yourself. I'm a little jealous that I'm not at a younger age where I could start something up, because I think I could make a really good impact in my world and my livelihood, you know. But anyway, but I think that we were the ones that basically began the side hustle, you know, being able to you know, just do the startup. I mean, think about the startup of the tech boom, right? And everything. It was really our starting up computers in your garage. Medtronic, the pacemaker, started in a garage, you know, those kind of things. And that was before our time. That was probably boomer, but still, just all of these things kind of was created. And some of these big tech companies that were around today that were just I don't want to go to, it's part of the rebel culture, right? Dropped out of some of the college programs and started Facebooks, dropped out of college programs, started Apple, Microsoft, Dell, all of these things. And so very, very much a self-starter. How can we make this better and do it on our own and create a side business? And I mean, even Michael Dell, he was a big deal, but he, you know, when he was creating it, he wasn't making a big deal out of it. He was just doing it, you know. And I think that's the impressive thing that you mentioned earlier. It's like, we're not trying to, you know, like put ourselves on a building. We're just trying to make something awesome, you know. And then if we get recognized, that's great. But I don't think it was as a result of that person. It was the result of the product that we made, you know.
Yeah. Here's some. We were talking about the comedians in the last update, or last number. Jerry Seinfeld is Gen X.
Okay.
Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Ellen DeGeneres, Bill Burr, Sarah Silverman, Jay Moore. Like, all these are comedians that are Gen Xers. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's some good ones in there. But
yeah, that's awesome. There's some good ones. And like I said, even those before, there's no way they could last today. They'd be too offended. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor. I mean, you think of those guys, and there's, you know, what was Sanford and Son, Red Fox, right?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a genius, you know. And so it's just, there's no way. Sam Kinison, right?
Yeah.
No way.
Yep.
So,
Steve, you should do 19.
Yeah, I thought that was his too.
That's where I was exactly where I was going for it. I hadn't scrolled far enough down the list yet, but so our generation really lived through the greatest eras of sports. So I'll amend this list of a couple names, but we saw Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Mike Tyson, Tiger Woods, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I mean, we even saw like some of the great still in their prime, like Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
Just all the great Olympians that Carl Lewis, just
Mary Lou Retton,
just so many names out there that
Tanya Harding. I'm kidding.
and then we digress. But you know, they provided
Greg Louganis.
the endless replays, they created all the original Sports Center moments for us, and so it was just, I mean, we're the reason why 24-hour sports exists, because we were just totally geeked up about sports and saw some amazing moments. And sports is still fun today, but it's different. It's so much more commercialized.
Yep.
I think we all despise the fact that college athletes get paid now. And
I do too.
I don't disagree with some level of compensation, but I thought that's what scholarships and a free ride was about.
Yeah.
And but I thought the really good ones focused on being a great student athlete first, and then went professional,
making millions as professional.
Yeah,
like the rest of us.
Yeah. It changes the whole dynamic of college sports. Like used to be like, these are 18-year-old kids. Like, you know what? Actually, these jokers are driving Lamborghinis that are paid for by the university. Like, you got a job to do. Like, get out there and do it.
Right.
Like, there's a lot less grace whenever you're getting paid millions of dollars by your school.
Yeah.
To get out there and do a job. It changes the whole dynamic of it.
They're just a kid doesn't exist anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. And then the thing that just absolutely just kills me is that these college athletes, they get paid all this big bucks. Then they sit out the bowl games because they don't want to get injured and ruin their professional career.
Bowl games are a joke. Like they're a joke. Like they're not what they used to be back in the day. I mean, it's just it's awful. So I
know people argue the other way, and I can respect it. But I agree with y'all's perspective. Is if you're getting paid, perform. People are coming to see you. They're paying money to see you, which is, helping pay for this. And so I don't know. It could be seen either way, but I'm like, if you're gonna get paid as much as you could, as some of you all are getting as paid as much as probably you would if you were professional, you need to play the sport,
completely.
So, just my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know about y'all, but I used to wake up to the Sports Center in the morning. Like that used to be
right.
That literally used to be, I had a timer on my TV and would wake up at like 7 a.m. to go to school and stuff. And Sports Center was on. Yeah. Like it just, oh man, those are the days.
Yeah.
But
so I'll call an audible on what I just said, and it relates to what's going on right now with March Madness. So here's my opinion on that, though. So I personally think that they should eliminate most of the conference tournaments, because I don't think it's fair if a superstar gets hurt in a conference tournament before the big tournament. And I think what they should do is make bubble tournaments. If there are teams that are on the bubble from getting in, let them compete to get into the big tournament. But that still the ones that have accomplished the feat to feel that they're securing in there, they shouldn't have to worry about injury before the big dance. But still, they're not skipping the big dance, and that's the thing.
You award the conference championship based off who has the best record in the conference.
Yep. Yeah.
I agree with that. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, you've gone through the grinder, and half of these conference championships anyway. I mean, even when Texas Tech was in it, they're like, look, as long as they win 2, they'll probably be a second or third seed. So they weren't even caring. Yeah. They're like that. We'll win 2 and we're going to go home and rest. Yeah. They're not going to care about ending,
Exactly.
So you remember back in, it was 95 when Tech went to the Cotton Bowl, and it was still the Southwest Conference days back then. And
Steve, don't bring this up.
But, I'm not going to talk about that game, but the tiebreaker system that existed, that earned us a right to play in the Cotton Bowl. That there's nothing like that anymore. And so it was a series of like, all right, so head-to-head record, and then a record against similar conference teams or whatever it was, and that's the solution to selecting the only reason why the conference tournaments exist is for TV dollars.
Yeah.
And conference revenue. That's it.
Yeah. So. Tickets.
Yeah. Pretty wild. That's all it is. Whatever though, that's I wish they hired us, and I'd get paid half of what one college freshman would get paid to give them my opinion. That's all right. So
it's crazy. And it's one of those things that once you cross that line, you can't go back.
Well, how do you pull this back?
You cannot put the genie back in the bottle. Like it's over. And there's no going back to what it was. So, we can talk about it, but it'll never go back.
No,
so
we're stuck with how it is for now. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you keep up with this? Like, I don't know how, and
it's only going to continue to progress until like private equity is going to get into college sports, and then you're going to have people that aren't even going to these universities, that are employees of the private equity firms that are putting the team on the field. Like that's what it's going. That's what it's going to end up. That's where we're headed eventually.
So
and it's because there's so much money in college sports that you're going to attract those big investors. So, but
very true.
Anyway, we just sound like old boomers right now.
We really are.
Back in my day, when I was playing, they didn't like to play college sports and pay the players.
We sound like a bunch of old farts.
We do, but at the same point, you're like, come on,
I know.
It's like, this is getting really out of hand. But anyway, so
it is.
But I agree with most of what ChatGPT has put down there. Is there anything that you can think of that it missed that you would say, hey, what are you thinking? Anything that you can see that stands out that's missed? I'm not really seeing a whole lot.
Yeah.
Most of it's pretty, it's a long list, and I think it's a pretty good list. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they even highlight, that we were rebels, but we were also cool, the way we dress and stuff like that. Of course, I've still dressed the same way I did when I was a kid, polo shirt, but parachute pants and all the cool shoes, and everybody shopped at Structure and
Zeke Averici, Bugle Boy jeans, Cape.
Yeah, pretty wild. I remember the Capas, Gerbeau pants.
Man, those are the coolest.
That was
we
when
don't
you
have
were
cool
legit.
stuff like that these days. Or if we do, I'm not wearing it.
That's right. I'm not either.
I buy most of my clothes at Costco.
Yeah. Tell you what, I have some work slacks I bought from there, and I love them.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. Anyway. But hey, but good list though, Noel. Thanks for asking a little ChatGPT about that. So for our listeners, is there anything you think that we have missed that ChatGPT had brought up or hasn't brought up that kind of solidified your opinion of the Gen X generation? I would really be curious to see if there's something that you can think of that was a complete miss of what we've talked about, not only in this episode, but when we were defining Gen X when we first started this endeavor. So let us know. And remember, next week is when we will start our beginning of 1985 Wayback Time Machine episodes. And thanks again to Wayback for teeing us up with that. So we'll start our next episode with, we're breaking our movie episode down into two parts because it's a long, detailed one. We're excited about it. So part one of movies will be starting next week, and then we will have part two with the bottom five or the top five, I should say, number 5 through number 1 movies of that year to follow. So stay tuned. And guys, this has been fun.
Enjoyed it as usual. It's always fun.
Yes, sir.
Thanks everybody for listening. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Yes, sir.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Gen X Journey podcast belong solely to the hosts and guests and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of any entity they are associated with. The information provided is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek the advice of qualified professionals for any specific issues they may face. The creators and contributors of this podcast make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or validity of any information, and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its use.